Hey everyone, NoModMaster here. Next on the list at number 24 is Coastal Cottage. It has a height limit of 7 floors and an area rank of 31. And much like Greentop Nursery, Coastal Cottage is a medium-sized settlement. Once the area ranks got into the 30s, this is pretty much the beginning of medium-sized settlements in my opinion. It should also be noted that this is a gateway settlement, but I'll talk about that in a little bit. So once you guys get here, you're going to have to kill that one raider, and then there's these two Mirelurks that come out of this hole in the ground. So once you kill those as well, then you can claim the workshop. There's nothing too difficult about claiming this area. The enemy spawns aren't too bad. It's just in a difficult area of the compound, so be careful about trying to discover this settlement. That's the hard part about it. So once you guys claim the workshop, you'll notice right away that there's quite a few things you can scrap. There's quite a few things you cannot scrap. And there's some obstacles when it comes to building here. There's holes and hills and permanent structures, and we're going to go over that right now. So the first thing is first, let's look at the area of the settlement. It does have a pretty good size, but it doesn't feel that way when you build here because there's so much stuff in the way. So if you can kind of get over all the junk and obstacles, then you can utilize this settlement. One thing to note too, you can only build 7 floors from down in this corner here where the driveway starts. If you try to build up here near the house, you'll have a lot less room to put some floors, maybe only 3 or 4. So there's not too much room to build vertically. I would build more horizontally here. And like I said earlier, this is a gateway settlement, guys. So if you notice right over here in the distance where the water meets the land, that's where you can go and discover the entrance to Far Harbor. And Far Harbor has shops and stuff that you can use if you're playing survival to collect resources and build up the settlement. Far Harbor is also adjacent to Old Longfellow's cabin, so you can use that settlement to establish trade routes as well. Alright guys, so if you notice what I'm doing here, I'm scrapping all the things that are scrappable, but like that big clump of trees right here, you can't scrap any of these. That stump, this wall, it looks like a semi-truck flew through this home when the bombs went off, and that is the result of why this is like this. So if you scrap most of the stuff, you can kind of get the shell of a pre-war structure, but there's just so many obstacles still. We'll go over that in a minute. So like these big metal containers, you can't scrap those. This home can't scrap. Most of the junk around it and in it you can scrap. Thankfully the boat and the shelves, you can reutilize this structure. It has a bunch of holes in the roof, and then there's some junk piles on the ground that are not able to be scrapped as well. Over here, you'll notice that there's like a little cliff in the middle of the settlement. That's kind of a weird obstacle I don't really like as well. It's part of the driveway. So what I did is I pretty much just reutilized this into a shed. Thankfully, it's not as difficult to repair as the house. So I'm going to fast forward. I'm going to show you guys what the house looks like after I repaired it. So what I did is I actually split it into 2 different levels because the original structure looks like it lost its stairs when it was destroyed. So on the first level I just created like a kind of like a condo or a townhome, and then upstairs there's another one. So these are pretty nice. I try to make them feel a little nicer because they're so big. This right here is probably one of the most difficult obstacles in the entire structure. I really had to figure out how to work some walls around those boards. Same thing with the floors. I would suggest starting with the floors first because it was really difficult to get this built. So once you put the floors in, then you can finally figure out where you're going to put your walls. And the one thing is that you want to utilize the basement because I really couldn't put floors over this hole, so it is better to utilize it and turn it into like a basement. And this is kind of just like a work area for whoever lives here. And then there's also a bedroom up here as well. And what's cool about these rooms is that they're actually vaulted ceilings, so you use the tall wall pieces to repair this structure, which is really cool. Here's some more boards. These are a pain. I had to build some crazy diagonal window pieces and some other stuff to make it fit. The floors are hard to put where the boards are as well. So once you figure out those boards, you can fix that bottom area. The upstairs is a little bit easier, but still not that great. I couldn't utilize part of the structure because I couldn't get anything to snap into place there, let alone put floors. So I turned into a little like patio or balcony area. So just like the first floor, this is an open floor plan with the kitchen and the living room attached to give you lots of room. And then out here's the patio. This is what I was talking about. This is probably the most difficult spot on the second floor to repair. If you'll notice, there is a big hole back here, and I couldn't put any floor over this area. I could barely put what I have here. So heads up, you will struggle with this area. And then over here, the rest is pretty stable. It wasn't easy, but it was definitely not as hard as that patio area. So the bedroom and the living room, kitchen area are all stable, no holes in the floors, no problems with the walls. You will notice though that this is 1.5 walls wide. So you might have to utilize building tip number 1 if you're not used to building with half walls and structures, because you're gonna have to do that here. And then I'll show you one last thing before I have to go, which is the permanent couch over here. You'll notice this couch is kind of sticking out the ground. You can't scrap it, sit on it, or sleep on it. You're just stuck with it. And that pretty much concludes my video for today, guys. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.